Hi everyone, welcome to Floral Fridays, the segment where I bring you tips and tricks for drawing flowers on Friday by Moody Dreamer. So for today's video, I wanted to talk about small flowers, adding small flowers, and just giving you guys a few tips and tricks on how to do small flowers and go about it. This is kind of a continuation of the Pablo pencil review that I did last week, for which I highly recommend you go and check out. So the materials are going to kind of go by fast just because it's basically the same materials, except for I'll be using the Luminance white pencil as well. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first tip that I have for you is to really keep your pencils super sharp. And by that I mean, you might have to experiment with a few sharpeners. I know there are a few people here on YouTube that have, recommendations for sharpeners. And, I've recommended a sharpener as well in my Pablo pencil review. But you really just want to find a sharpener that will sharpen your pencils to a point, especially if you're using pencils that are hard, like oil-based color pencils, that can keep a point. You want to keep them as sharp as possible. And if you're really feeling old school or adventurous, you could even just go ahead and just use like a X-Acto blade to sharpen your pencils, because that's how like a lot of the old school people do it. The next tip that I have would definitely be to, probably keep a few reference photos on hand. They don't have to be from real life. I highly recommend, for small flowers, especially if you're going for that surreal type of look, which is kind of what I'm doing for this. You really just want to have, like flowers of any type of representation, like even flowers, like on your bag or on your leggings, flowers that are sort of simplified, but give just enough information that you can tell that it's a flower. Those are the type of flowers that we're going for. So while it's good to have some real life references, I highly recommend that you also have, like some more cartoony or design references at hand, because designers are really good at simplifying really complex things like flowers. So as I was mentioning earlier, this is kind of a continuation of the Pablo pencil review, for which I got to use a majority of the pencils, but with the exception of the greens, I wasn't really able to utilize the greens too much. So that's why I wanted to go back in and, go back into the drawing and try and get some greens in there. So when you're doing small flowers, you still want to kind of have like a variety. You want to have like really small stuff and slightly bigger stuff, just to kind of keep it, flowing in my opinion. So, if you're doing like big flowers like roses, I definitely think you should stick to, like the big picture stuff, like I said, generalize, and really focus on making sure the outer petals really stick out. So definitely focus on making them brighter, while the inner part, which is, much more hidden and has more petals, tends to be darker. So that's a good way to sort of help you generalize roses, or just big flowers in general. The bigger flowers, the bigger petals are going to definitely be brighter. Now for your smaller flowers, where you're doing like a bunch, you definitely want to take like a color or two, or maybe even three, and just like do like an overall base color, kind of like what I did with like these like daisy dandelion-y yellow flowers that I have. I just kind of went over the area with like a yellow and a pink and an orange type of hue, and then I went back in with like my dark brown for like the circle inner part, and then my white, my luminance white for the outer petals. I pretty much continued to work in that manner for a lot of the rest of the drawing. I really liked just like the effect it gave versus drawing like a ton of singular flowers, which can kind of get kind of crazy after a while, and you're, you know, constantly sharpening your pencil, which, you know, can kind of like waste your lead a little bit, you know, just to like keep that point, you know. So I highly recommend that, you know, you kind of switch it up and, you know, definitely do a little bit of both, you know, do some very nice, you know, individual flowers to sort of stick out, but then also, you know, kind of think about it as like a bouquet, you know, like, and that's why I say to keep some reference photos, you know, photos of, you know, like bouquets and all that type of stuff. So once you sort of have like your floral arrangement or bouquet mapped out, it's really just about defining everything, you know, going back in with that white as much as you can to, you know, really push those bright petals, and, you know, with those darks, pushing those dark areas a little bit, you know, so that they're more in shadow. And yeah, and then go ahead and adding some white highlights for, you know, some nice little finishing touches. If you guys did enjoy this, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos. I do a lot of drawing videos and art videos, and I really love flowers, so a lot of my videos are flower related. Here's the finished product. Very surreal. I really love it. Just as a nice addition to my sketchbook. And here's just how like it looks, you know, from the original. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I hope you guys have a rest of the good day. Bye.